The eviction notice gripped me like a cold dagger, slicing through the warmth of what had just been a joyful birthday celebration. Moments before, I had been surrounded by family, believing it was going to be my best birthday. I'm Viven, and this is how my 30th birthday turned into a day of betrayal by my own family. Open it, dear. We're all eager for you to see what's inside, my mother urged with sparkling eyes that I now recognize as anxiety rather than joy. The elegant envelope seemed harmless, wrapped in silver paper with a delicate bow. The living room of my childhood home, which I had spent the last 5 years renovating, was crowded with familiar faces. My cousin Salah was perched on the sofa's armrest, watching me with an expression I couldn't decipher. My brother, Jace, stood by the fireplace, his hands deep in his pockets, avoiding my gaze. "Come on, Viv. We haven't got all day," Salah chimed in with a voice as sweet as honey. It struck me how odd it was that she was dressed so formally for a simple family gathering. As I tore open the envelope, the taste of birthday cake lingered on my tongue, but the legal document inside made my stomach turn. The bold, unforgiving letters of the eviction notice stared back at me. "What is this?" I whispered.
"Mom? Dad?"
My mother's face fell. "Sweetheart, we've been trying to find the right time to tell you." "Tell me what?" I stood up, the paper shaking in my hand. "That you're evicting me from my home? The home I've poured my savings into." Salah cleared her throat. "Viven, be reasonable. The house was never officially yours. The deed is still under your parents' names, and they've decided it's time for a change." "A change?" I spun to face her. "What do you know about this?" "I'm just helping the family make the best financial decision," she said, smoothing her designer skirt. "The market's hot right now." "The market?" I laughed bleakly. "This is my home, not an investment property." My brother spoke up. "Viv, maybe we should discuss this privately."
"No."
I slammed the paper onto the coffee table, rattling the plates. "I want answers now. Mom? Dad? Why are you doing this?" My father avoided my eyes. "There have been concerns about your ability to maintain the property." Salah presented us with concerning documentation. Documentation. I felt like I was drowning. "What documentation?" "I've done nothing but improve this house. Look around, new floors, updated kitchen, restored Victorian details." "I did all that." "With questionable contractors," Salah softly interjected, "and there have been noise complaints from neighbors, unauthorized mods." "False," I cracked, turning to my best friend Paisley, frozen in the corner. "Pa, tell them. You've been here through all the renovations." Paisley stepped forward, fiercely. "Viv's done everything by the book. I've seen all the permits." But my family's expressions didn't change. My mother reached for my hand. "Sweetie, you have 30 days to..." I jerked away. 30 days. To leave my home on my birthday. The room spun. "How long have you been planning this?" Salah straightened her blazer. "We all need to calm down and discuss rationally. The decision's made, Viven. Fighting will only make it harder." Her face, a facade of concern, clicked something inside me. This wasn't just about the house, it was planned. The outfit, the documentation, her role as the sane voice. "Get out," I whispered, then louder. "Everyone get out." "Viven," my mother started, but they all filed out, leaving only Paisley. As the door shut, I collapsed on the couch, the eviction notice mocking me. Paisley beside me held me. "This isn't over, Viv. Something's amiss and we'll figure it out," she vowed. Anger replaced shock. "You're right. Salah's behind this, always wanting this house since childhood." I renewed my determination, promising myself this wouldn't be the last birthday celebrated here, not if I could help it. The next morning, post-disaster, I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at my phone. 17 missed calls from Mom, 5 from Jace, none from Salah. Paisley, having stayed over, urged, "Eat something." "I can't." I pushed the toast away. "I need to uncover what Salah's been feeding my parents." My hands shook dialing my mother. "Put it on speaker," Paisley said adjacent. "Vivian," Mom answered anxiously. "We've been worried." "Spare me." I cut in, Tell me exactly what Saw's alleged about me. The line sighed heavily. It's not just Saw. She showed us unauthorized construction reports, neighborhood complaints.
Impossible.
I slammed the counter. I have all permits. Who complained? I don't have specifics. Salah managed it, she confessed. Did you verify anything? Question me, before blindsiding me on my birthday? Silence. Saw said you deny everything, Mom replied, voice diminishing. She claimed financial struggles, cutting corners. I demand copies, I declared. Every document, complaint, everything from Saw. Vivian, please. No. Understand. This house is my life. Every penny in it. I'm not leaving without a fight. I hung up on her, Paisley squeezing my shoulder. That's the spirit. Now what? We gather evidence, grabbing my laptop. Prove Salah's lying. My phone buzzed, Jace's text. Meet at Carlos's in 30, need to talk. I arrived at Carlos's, spotting my brother in our usual booth, face guilt-ridden. You knew, I accused, sliding into the seat. You knew their plan. Jace ran hands through his hair. I found out yesterday. They swore me to secrecy. Said Saw had proof you were in trouble. And you believed her? No, he leaned in. Something odd's happening. Last week, overheard Salah discussing property values, development opportunities. As I sat in the neighborhood, the reality slowly fell into place. My road was one of the few historic areas left in the city, ripe for development, and my house was on the largest lot. Valentine, I said, realizing that her fiancé's family owned the flashy new condo project downtown. Suddenly, it made sense why she wanted to sell to the developers. There's more. Jace's voice cut through my thoughts. He dug deeper and found that Salah was having meetings with the City Planning Commission. And guess who else had attended those meetings? Our parents. Jace nodded, confirming my worst suspicions. They thought they were saving me from financial disaster, but Salah had convinced them that selling was my only way out. She's got them where she wants them, I said, frustration leaking into my voice. My phone buzzed with an email from Mom, loaded with attachments. Glancing through them quickly, I showed them to Jace. The letterhead was wrong, and the permit numbers didn't match my records. She forged these, I whispered, trying to stay calm. Keep it down, Jace warned, glancing around. Salah's got heirs everywhere. I couldn't let this go on. I needed to show the truth to my parents. Jace held me back. Salah and Valentine's wedding is in 2 weeks. Everyone will be there. That's your chance to reveal the truth properly. I had 2 weeks to gather evidence. I'm in, Jace said firmly. Paisley will help too, but let's be smart. Suddenly, despair turned to determination. I wouldn't roll over and let her take what's mine.
Determined, I called Paisley.
Remember your friend at the city planning office? We need her help now. The stakes were high, but I was ready to play to win. Walking into the planning office, the scent of stale coffee and printer ink surrounded me. Amanda, Paisley's friend, pulled another file to add to the stack on her desk. These are the development proposals for your neighborhood over the last 6 months, she said quietly. Among them were 3 from Valem Development Group, Valentine's company. My heart dropped as I froze on a familiar sketch. This is my house, I pointed out. Paisley gasped at the date. This was filed 2 months ago, before the eviction notice. Amanda pointed out another detail, the signatures. My parents had authorized preliminary surveys months ago. Trying to steady my breath in the parking lot, I knew we had to confront Valentine. Do you think he knows?
Paisley asked.
His company filed the proposals, I replied, feeling a mix of anger and resolve. But before we could plan our next move, my phone rang. It was Jace. Get to Mom and Dad's, fast. Salah's there with a contractor, acting like they already own your house. 15 minutes later, I stormed through the door. Salah's voice was syrupy sweet as she talked about the benefits of modernization. Over my dead body, I interrupted, startling everyone. Salah recovered quickly, a fake smile on her face. Viven, we're discussing potential neighborhood developments. I had enough. I laid development proposals on the table. When were you planning to tell everyone about your fiancé's plans? My mother's face turned pale. Salah tried to dismiss me, saying I was upset about the eviction. I pushed further, demanding she show the real intentions. The contractor awkwardly suggested leaving, but Salah commanded him to stay. Vivian's just emotional, she laughed off. Anger bubbled within me. Emotional? You forged documents, lied to my parents, and attempted to steal my home. My father, finally raising his voice, told me off, proclaiming Salah's helpfulness. I slammed the proposals at him. Look at the signatures, the dates. This was months in the making. I seethed. These aren't the documents we saw, my mother said, her hands trembling. I cut in, they're fake. I have official copies from the city. The first crack appeared in Salah's facade. You went through official records? She asked, voice shaking. A flood of evidence from the city planning thudded into my inbox. Holding up my phone, I challenged Salah. Want to see the proof? It's all here. Her face hardened, tensing as she spat. You don't know who you're dealing with. I turned to my parents, encouraging them to verify everything. My mother's voice broke. Is this true? But Salah was already retreating, dragging the contractor along. This isn't over, she hissed from the doorway. In her wake, silence settled in the kitchen. My father looked haunted by the documents in front of him. We should have asked, he admitted quietly, the weight of betrayal pulling his shoulders down. Yes, you should have, I agreed, leaving the truth at the table. The question is, now that you know, what will you do about it? Walking out, I dialed Paisley. Phase 1 is complete. Time for Valentine. Finding Valentine wasn't hard. He was lunching at a trendy downtown cafe with his sister, Leah. Stealing my nerves, I walked up, Paisley beside me. Mind if we join? I didn't wait for an answer before taking a seat. Valentine's fork dropped in shock. Vivian, what is this? It's about my house, I began, laying out the twisted plans. Leah's eyes narrowed. That Victorian house Salah talked about? The very one Valem development plans to demolish, I said, watching Valentine's reaction closely. Beside him, Leah demanded, Val, what's going on? He paused, tension cutting the air like a knife. Not here, he suggested weakly, but I cut him off. This was exactly the place and time to lay everything bare. The unassuming proposal drafts, quietly submitted by our company 2 months before the eviction notices surfaced, right before all of Salah's deceit became undeniable, began to unravel the neighborhood's fate. Leah, her cheeks flushing with anger as she snatched the papers and examined them, exclaimed, You're planning to raise the entire street to make way for condos. It's a strategic business move, Valentine justified. The area is undervalued. It's my home, I intervened, and Salah has been pulling strings with my family to acquire it wrongfully. Your parents were willing sellers, Valentine replied, yet his voice hinted at doubt. They were manipulated, Paisley insisted, because Salah presented them with fake documents, suggesting that Viv was mismanaging the property. Leah pushed aside her plate, revulsion clear in her expression. Is that why you're speeding up the wedding, for the deal's sake? The timing is advantageous, Valentine conceded. Advantageous, I echoed with bitterness. You're obliterating people's lives and histories. Progress demands sacrifice, Valentine argued, but Leah silenced him. No, it requires deceit, and I'm not part of it. She stood up, gathering her scarf and bag. Count me out of the wedding. Leah, please wait. Valentine called, but she was already striding out. I threw Valentine a saccharine grin. Trouble in paradise? You have no business in my affairs, Valentine snapped. And you have no claim over my house, I retorted, standing up. I've already forwarded everything to the City Ethics Board. They're quite intrigued by Valram's expedited approvals. Color drained from his face. You're bluffing. Test me, I said, dropping a lawyer's card on the table. Leah waited by my car. I want to aid you, she offered. Why trust you? I questioned. Because I've watched Salah manipulate my brother for months, Leah countered, and I have access to Valram's internal files. Paisley caught my arm. This could be significant, Viv. What's in it for you? I probed Leah. Justice, she replied, and the spectacle of watching Salah's immaculate scheme disintegrate. She brandished her phone, displaying emails dating back 6 months illustrating their manipulative plot to coerce my parents into the sale. As I perused the messages, trepidation surged through me. There was an explicit discussion detailing the scheme to expedite the development. This is precisely what we require, Paisley whispered. There's further, Leah added, board meetings, private dialogues, and financial strategies. I can secure all of it. My phone vibrated, a message from Jace. Mom and Dad want to speak. They've seen the evidence. The tide is shifting, I informed Leah, but action must come swiftly. The wedding is in 10 days, optimal for collapse. I'll dispatch everything tonight, Leah confirmed, walking away. Are you sure about engaging her? Paisley queried. She's exploiting us as we exploit her. I admitted, but our goals align right now. My phone buzzed again, a message from an unfamiliar number. Back off, or you'll regret it. Some things transcend property, eliciting a cold laugh from me. She's threatening you, Paisley observed. Desperation, I corrected, preserving the message for evidence. Desperate individuals commit errors. As we approached my car, determination propelled my stride. Let's visit my parents. The situation unfolded rapidly, though Salah's threat cast a lingering shadow that the worst was approaching. I awoke to shattering glass, rushing downstairs to find a brick amidst the broken window fragments, accompanied by a note. Final warning. My hands trembled dialing the police. Both Paisley and Jace arrived preemptively before law enforcement. This escalates too far, Jace remarked, examining the brick. Exercise caution, Viv. I won't retreat, I declared, handing the cop the note and mentioning its relevance to a broader issue. I possess related documentation. File a restraining order, the cop advised nonchalantly. Not feasible without proof of the thrower, he added. Afterward, Paisley aided in boarding the window as I reassured, Leah's evidence is compelling. Yesterday's emails are incriminating. Checking my phone, I realized my mother called thrice. Need to see them, I declared. I'll accompany, Jace insisted. Shortly after, we sat in my parents' living room, my mother's eyes red with tears. Such fools we've been, she lamented. Those documents from Salah. You wanted to trust she was aiding the development, Dad added somberly. We never realized the intent to decimate the street's history. She played on your worries about me being untroubled, I explained. She's manipulated us for years. Remember when Salah convinced you Grandma's jewelry rightfully belonged to her, not Viv? Jace interjected. She claimed you disliked it, deemed it archaic. My mother confessed sorrowfully. I never uttered such disdain, I assured, nor did I modify the house illicitly or cause neighbor disputes. We verify that, Dad reassured. No grievances ever existed. Neighbors admired your efforts. Another buzz, urgent. Leah sought me at Riverside Park. I must leave, I conveyed, but assert you're rallying alongside me? We'll strive to right these wrongs, Mom affirmed resolutely. At the park, Leah paced anxiously near the fountain. Salah uncovered my assistance. She's threatening exposure, she confided helplessly. What's an impact? An error from eons ago. Potentially catastrophic, she articulated, distressed. Your perspective, I countered firmly, yet no worse than Salah's transgressions. Life's risks accompany righteousness. Leah's eyes brimmed with tears, easier decreed than enacted. For you, it's merely a home. No, I countered passionately. Our fight is for truth and justice, not solely the residents. Salah's victims deserve reprisal, including you. She wiped away tears. Hearing Valentine indicated an accelerated timeline, post-wedding closure. My phone flickered with a notification. Relish the brick? Next time, not a window. Leah, reading over my shoulder, interpreted serenity in Salah's crumbling composure. Good, she assessed. Her despair breeds blunders. Leah mused. The rehearsal dinner, surely. Let's regroup. The board members, investors, and family will all be present. an ideal time to reveal everything. However, SAA will anticipate something. She'll be on guard. I grimaced and stated, "We'll have to be even more prepared then. I need every document, every email, every detail of evidence you can find, and I need it by tonight." Leah gave a nod of agreement. "You'll have them in 2 hours," she assured as she walked away. My phone buzzed again shortly after. This time it was a message from Paisley. "Your mom just called. Salah's at their house, crying and claiming you're trying to destroy her life. Your parents are convinced, but she's putting on quite a performance." I texted back, "Let her act. In 3 days, she'll have a real reason to cry." The stakes were even higher now and the threats graver, but Salah's desperate actions only demonstrated how near we were to defeating her. The countdown to the rehearsal dinner was underway. The day before the rehearsal dinner found me in my lawyer's office, surrounded by heaps of evidence. Sarah, my attorney, skimmed through the documents with rising intrigue. "These emails between Salah and Valum are damning," she noted. "And the forged documents are criminal." I inquired, "Is it enough to halt the development?" "Absolutely. And to press charges probably," she affirmed. Leaning forward, she asked, "Are you sure about addressing this at the rehearsal dinner?" "It's the perfect time," I replied. "All the investors will be there, not to mention the family." My phone buzzed again, another threat from Salah. "Last chance to back down. Remember, I know about Miami." Sarah noticed my expression and asked, "What's wrong?" "She's attempting to blackmail me now," I said, showing her the text. "But the Miami incident, it's trivial, just a college spring break mishap she thinks she can exploit against me." "Document everything," Sarah advised, offering me a USB drive. "I've compiled all the evidence here, including the police report about the brick." "Are you sure you don't want private security?" "I'll manage," I replied. "Jason and Paisley will be with me tomorrow night." Outside the office, Leah was waiting in her car. "Get in.
"There's something you need to see," she said.
She drove us to Val's office building, parking in the underground garage. "Valentine and Salah are in a board meeting upstairs, but look at this," Leah said, revealing her tablet that displayed security footage earlier from the day. SHH was seen arguing with someone in the garage, her father. "Increase the volume," I instructed. "I can't keep covering for you," her father was saying. "The notary stamps on the forged documents, it's too risky." "Daddy, please, just one more day. After the rehearsal dinner, it won't matter anymore," came the plea. "What's happening after the rehearsal dinner?" I asked Leah. "I don't know, but they've reserved a private room at the restaurant. Invitation only after the main event," she replied. My phone rang again. It was Paisley. "Viv, you need to return home immediately. Someone's been in your house." Breaking every speed limit, I rushed back. Paisley and Jace awaited outside. Inside, I was stunned. Every renovation and wall, every fixture I'd meticulously restored had been photographed and marked with bright red X's. "They're cataloging everything they intend to demolish," Jace whispered. Paisley picked up a business card left on the counter. "Look who's handling the demolition," she noted. The company name made me seethe with anger. It belonged to Suen's uncle. "They're keeping it within the family," I remarked bitterly. "How'd they even enter?" I questioned. "Your mom called," Jace said. "Salah asked to borrow her spare key this morning, supposedly to measure for wedding decorations, and Mom initially said no. But when she refused, Salah broke down crying, claiming you were trying to ruin her special day. Feeling guilty, Mom revealed where she kept the spare." I sat down on the stairs, staring at the red XS marking my home. This was my grandmother's house. I learned to walk here and had my first kiss by the bay window. "And you're not losing it," Paisley declared firmly. "Tomorrow night, we bring this to an end." My phone buzzed with a message from Leah. "Emergency. Salah altered the seating arrangements. You're no longer invited to the private meeting." "Doesn't matter," I replied. "We'll do it during the main dinner, with more witnesses present." I spent the day with Sarah, fine-tuning our strategy. By nightfall, everything was set. While lying in bed, I heard footsteps on the porch. Grabbing my phone to call the police, I crept to the window only to see it was my mother leaving something by the door. Opening it, I discovered a small package with a note. Your grandmother wanted you to have this. I should have given it to you years ago. Love, Mom. Inside was my grandmother's antique locket, which Salah had falsely claimed I didn't want. Opening it, I found a tiny photo of my grandmother standing proudly in front of the house the day she bought it. My phone lit up with a final threat from Salah. Hope you're ready for tomorrow, because I am. I touched the locket and then looked at the red excess marking my walls. Bring it on, I murmured. Tomorrow would be transformative. Either I'd save my home and reveal Salah's machinations, or I'd lose everything I'd battled for. But staring at my grandmother's proud smile in that old photograph, one thing was clear: I wouldn't be defeated without a fight. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with anticipatory energy. Salah held court at the primary table, resplendent in white, while Valentine mingled, charming the investors. I sat between Paisley and Jace, the cool touch of my grandmother's locket against my skin, biding my time for the right moment. Look who just arrived, Paisley whispered. Sarah, my lawyer, entered with Leah, right on cue. Salah's smile faltered briefly, but she quickly composed herself, rising to greet them. Leah, darling, she began with feigned concern, I was worried you wouldn't make it after our disagreement. Leah responded coldly, wouldn't miss it, then addressed the collected guests.
Have you met Sarah?
She's quite remarkable, specializes in real estate fraud. The room hushed slightly. Valentine joined Salah, placing a firm hand on her arm. Perhaps we should commence with the toasts, he proposed. Wonderful idea, I interjected, rising with my glass. Salah's complexion blanched. That's not on the program, she objected, but I insisted. After all, what kind of cousin would I be if I didn't congratulate you on your achievements? The room quieted further. All eyes focused on me. Viven, my mother cautioned gently. It's okay, Mom, I reassured. I'm simply going to share some intriguing documents with everyone. I signaled to Sarah, who began distributing folders to the investors. Consider it my wedding gift. Security, Salah called out, but Leah was already at the door, blocking the exit. Let's start with these emails, I announced, my voice echoing in the stunned silence. Detailed schemes to forge documents, manipulate my family, and seize my home for Val's development project. Valentine advanced, protesting, these are confidential business matters. Sarah countered, fraud is never confidential, nor is forgery, which brings us to Exhibit B, the falsified complaints and permits, complete with unauthorized notary stamps from Salah's father. Cun's father stood abruptly, his face flushed with anger. Now wait just a minute, the ethics board is highly as calm as ever, Sarah smoothly interjected, expressing interest in your involvement. They'll be in touch. You're destroying everything, Saw shrieked, lunging for the folders. However, Jace was quicker, already distributing copies to the board members. Just like you tried to ruin my life, I noted, referencing the threats, the brick through my window, the break-in. Gasps spread through the meeting room. Valentine's sister stood to announce, the police have been informed about everything. Val, do something, Salah pleaded, but Valentine was engrossed in reading the documents, his expression darkening with each page. You assured me her family agreed to sell, that everything was above board, he questioned. It was simply business, C countered, a straightforward property acquisition. Simple? I echoed, taking out my phone to play the security footage Leah gave me. Saw's voice echoed through the room. After the rehearsal dinner, it will no longer be significant. What were you planning? Valentine demanded. Silence from Salah was damning, until her father confessed. The demolition crew is set for midnight. We believed, once the house was down. Tonight, while everyone was celebrating your wedding, you were going to demolish my home? My voice broke. Chaos ensued with investors storming out, board members huddled together, and family arguments filling the room. Through it all, Salah stood frozen, watching her perfect world collapse. The development deal is cancelled, Valentine declared sternly, and so is the wedding. But what about the deposits, the contracts? Salah's voice was small and shaken. They are null due to fraud, Sarah stated helpfully, as is the eviction notice. My mother approached Saw slowly. How could you betray family like this? I whispered, because family never mattered to her. Only power and control did, no matter who she harmed. Finally, Salah's composure cracked. You think you've won? You've ruined everything I've worked for, she accused. No, I corrected, touching my grandmother's locket. You did that to yourself. Every lie, every deceit, every betrayal. At that moment, the police arrived, asking questions, taking statements. I watched Saw's carefully constructed facade disintegrate completely. The house is yours, my father assured, pulling me into an embrace. It always was. We just forgot what family truly means. Later, standing outside the restaurant, Paisley squeezed my hand. How does it feel? She asked. I gazed up at the night sky, recalling my grandmother's photograph. Like justice, like home, I responded. My phone buzzed with one last message from Leah. Board meeting tomorrow. Val Ram is retracting from all neighborhood developments. You succeeded. It was indeed justice, but as Saw was escorted to a police car with mascara streaks marking her cheeks, I felt no pleasure in her downfall, only relief that my home, my family's legacy, was finally secure. The morning sun streamed through my newly repaired window as I enjoyed coffee on my front porch. The newspaper headline caught my attention. Valum Development faces investigation. CEO steps down, with a smaller headline underneath. Local woman charged with fraud, criminal conspiracy. My phone rang. Leah was on the line. Have you seen the news? Just reading it now, I admitted. How are you holding up? She asked. Better than expected, I replied. The board has appointed me interim CEO. Exposing corruption seems to have its benefits. A car pulled into my driveway. My parents were back, with Mom carrying a big box and Dad hoisting what appeared to be photo albums. I'll call you back, I told Leah. Mom set the box down gingerly. We were going through the attic and found things that belong here, she said. Within the box were pieces of my grandmother's life, her journals, recipes, and old letters. Dad opened one of the albums, pointing at a yellowed photograph. That's her, the day she bought this house. She said it was the proudest day of her life until the day you were born, Mom added softly. She always wished for you to have it. The screen door creaked open, revealing Paisley with more coffee. Look who's just arrived. A police car parked across the street as Officer Martinez approached, holding a document. Miss Harding, we recovered some items from Salah's office. Items she had stolen from your house, he explained, handing me a folder. And you should be informed, she has agreed to a plea deal, a full confession. Thank you, I said, accepting the folder. Inside were old photographs she'd stolen years ago, claiming they'd disappeared. The DA wants to know if you'll testify about the harassment, Officer Martinez added. I looked at my repaired window, remembering the brick, the threats, the fear. Yes, I will, I resolved. He nodded and left. Mom touched one of the retrieved photographs. Your 5th birthday, she recounted.